Hey, what's going on, Minnesota Vikings fans? My name is Kyle Smith. Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. This is episode number 260. It is titled, I Love You, Man, Mankato. That was a pretty good movie. I actually can say that I saw that one. But my counterparts here are the movie experts, and they run this ship, but they let me start it off today. So, guys, I am joined by Mr. Adam Carlson.
That's me. I'm here. Had a long day so far. It's Comic-Con day. So Walking Dead had all the trailers and the date releases and the panels and all that kind of stuff. It's been a lot. It's been a busy day. But I'm never too busy to talk about the Vikings.
That's right. The best time of day is talking about the Vikings football. What about you? Kyle West is joining us as well.
I am not an expert on anything. I'm an expert.
We were actually talking about how the show is going to be better because you're here to talk about training camp.
I do have insight on training camp. That is like the one thing that I can talk about and I can share with you guys.
Absolutely. And I say it every episode, but we're 260 episodes deep. And unlike some of those other podcasts, which put out seemingly a show a day, this is one a week. So 260 weeks, that's pretty darn impressive, guys. And the fact that we're still rolling and we got a pretty steady audience of listeners makes us really happy.
It is.
It's really fun. I love recording with you guys. It's always a blast to sit down and talk about football. And it's exciting because we're getting closer to actual football.
It's true.
Yeah, this should be a relatively quick show. We say that and it'll be an hour and a half. But the last show before training camp, which starts next week, I think the rookies report a couple of days early. But we can jump right into the quick hits. Speaking of
2 days from now,
training camp. The Vikings announced that the team will be moving training camp to the new TCO Performance Center in Eagan, which means the relationship with Minnesota State and Mankato, Minnesota, comes to an end after 52 years. It's bittersweet. You get an upgrade, but there's a lot of memories at the place that they've currently been doing training camp at.
That new facility is amazing. They're going to be able to do a lot of cool stuff there, and it's going to be so much better for the team as far as being able to run everything on their own patterns. Players will probably have a little bit of an upgrade as far as their living accommodations, situations like that. But there is that feeling from a lot of fans that have been out to training camp in Mankato that things just won't quite be the same during the first couple phases here of the preseason. Personally, this is going to be my first year checking out training camp. I'm going to do what I can to see what I can find out there, watch the players get their practice on, and maybe even get an autograph or two, who knows. But this year I won't be doing it as part of the Viking Age. Turns out that I won't be doing that as part of the media, but I'll be there as a fan, which can be even more fun.
Do you know when you're going to be up there, Adam?
I'm not hearing anything from Adam's end. We'll see if he can jump back in. Adam, if you could still hear me, man. Kyle's asking when you know you're going to be up there. Do you have the dates yet?
The schedule came out, so I'm going to be there every day I can be there.
Okay, cool.
Be up there on August 5th.
For the family day, the fireworks and that kind of stuff?
Saturday, Sunday, Monday is when I'm going to be up in Mankato. It'll be for the night scrimmage, the fireworks, and then Sunday
I don't know,
is
last
our day.
time we planned meeting up, you ditched me.
Ooh.
I did not ditch you.
I was there and you weren't. What do you call that? What do you call that?
I was a group of people and I had no choice, Adam.
Not even a text to tell me you weren't coming, I tell you.
There's drama here on the Purple People Podcast. Everything's going to go south super quick.
That's it. We're breaking up.
It's as close as we get to drama.
Well, for you guys that are listening, if you're going to training camp, now you have the days. If you want to hang out with us, write something on the Facebook wall, comment on any of the posts and let us know. Shoot us a message on there. I check it pretty frequently. It goes straight to my phone. And if they don't check it first, I'll definitely let the guys know so you guys can meet up for training camp. And, face-to-face interactions are always cool, and you can enjoy training camp together with a bigger group of people.
Absolutely
say hi.
I'm looking forward to them moving to the new facility. It is think that's as well too. It's a smaller facility.
Mr. West is having a little bit of difficulty. We'll let
people.
Yeah, we got some technical issues going on there. But I think he's got like an army of people on his Wi-Fi, and there's some weather issues, so forgive that all going on.
Anytime it rains, my internet is just like, nope, not going to work.
We got Eric Grandal in the chat, and he wants to give a big skol out to anybody who is listening or might even be listening later. So skol right back at you.
Nice. Thanks, Eric. He's pretty good, faithful to the chat.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about this next quick hit because it's pretty interesting for me, and I'm always about giving people the opportunity. I always tell my students here, if you guys don't know, I'm a canine instructor down at Fort Bliss, and I always say, give the dogs a chance to do their best. And just with anything, even if it was a human student, it could be applied to just about anything. So let's talk about TJ Clemmings for a minute. I think we can all agree that he was out of his element last year, which had poor performance issues. But Rick Spielman announced that he's going to have a position change for TJ Clemmings. He's going to be playing offensive guard. So I'm not even going to jump in on that because we have an offensive line sort of expert on the show. What do you think about that?
I think that with what the Vikings paid to solidify their tackles as much as they could, I would not say that this is going to be a permanent change of any sort. If things start to happen and offensive tackles are needed, TJ Clemmings will get called upon to do that. And it's kind of a horrible situation for him because he never really got a solid chance to establish himself at either right or left tackle. But for him to move to guard, it'll put him in a group where he's competing with some different players for different opportunities. But it's still not going to be a lock for him to make the team considering the depth at the interior line. Let's see how things shake out, though.
I don't know. I think we addressed the issue at tackles, so therefore I think TJ would probably be the backup there. And like you said, he's going to get a roster spot because we need depth just in case, God forbid, the same kind of thing happened last year where our starters go down and he has to jump in. But the positive of it is TJ Clemmings could kind of be plugged in just about anywhere. The negative of it is you don't know what kind of performance you're going to get. Because
right.
Last year of him being on the opposite side. But I think it would be cool if maybe it was right guard since he plays right tackle, I believe, even though he's at left last year. Maybe he could just shift over one position and it wouldn't be too much to change. But TJ is going to be on the roster regardless. He's not a bad fourth-round pick. I just think that he needs to get the chance to be in one position. Same thing we say about Sam Bradford. If he would have one coordinator for maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe he could thrive better than he has. But we'll see. I'm excited for him, and I hope he does well.
Absolutely.
I think it's a better fit for him at guard.
Yeah, his footwork at offensive tackle wasn't the best. He was getting beat a lot. In the interior, he won't have to cover as much space. He doesn't have to be a dancing bear. He can put more of his power on display instead of having to rely on his agility. And I think that his power is probably where his strong suit lies rather than being that fancy footwork left tackle.
I agree.
Pretty exciting.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the next one here. Let's talk about one of our Pro Bowlers, probably one of the top at his position in the league. I think that's pretty unified.
Pro Football Focus loves him.
Can't blame him after the year he's had. I hope he keeps going up. I think he could elevate his game just a little bit more. Our cornerback, Xavier Rhodes, said that Darrelle Revis was the cornerback that he modeled his game after in college. And that was a little bit of a talking piece throughout some sports sites this week. I think it's pretty good, a pretty good thing to try to emulate. Revis, when they call you Revis Island and you can pretty much be out there one-on-one on the number one guy all the time, I think that's pretty good. I think we can all agree that Xavier has pretty much cemented his role as the number one corner on the team. And he's not afraid to play against the best receivers in the league. We saw that with the game where he shut down Odell Beckham Jr. last year. So I thought that was pretty cool. I like Darrelle Revis. I think he's a little past his prime now, but he was definitely a shutdown corner in his prime year.
Yeah, the Vikings definitely have no problem taking Xavier Rhodes and putting him one-on-one against some of the top wide receivers in the league. And so far, the results have been very good. And to think of how far he's come along so far with how he's had to tone down his physical nature, I was actually talking with Andy Carlson of Purple for the Win a little bit about this, about how it's easier to take an overly aggressive, handsy cornerback and have him tone his game down rather than bring in a cornerback who needs to be more physical, because that's just a complete game style change rather than, making some better decisions at the line or something like that. And once Xavier found his rhythm, was able to, with the help of the coaching staff, be a still aggressive corner, but less physical and not get all the flags that he used to, he has really developed into one of the top cornerbacks in the league, and he will be a star in this league. And the Vikings will continue to treat him as his own island player going forward.
I love it because the two things, we had a guy like that before. The first person that comes into mind, first round pick, I believe, or second, if I'm wrong there, you guys can demolish me for it. But you talked about people who needed to be more physical and get more hyped up. I think of Chris Cook immediately. He was always getting worked, and it seemed like the receivers were always a little more physical than him.
He had the size and athleticism and everything, but that aggression just wasn't there.
And then I think of the positives. You know who two guys on the roster that I know are full of confidence and they play a little physical and handsy, and they're going to be on our team for a while? Is our other two corners, and one of them is going to start this year.
Yeah.
Trey Williams and Mackenzie Alexander. They are both physical, and we know that both of those guys are confident as hell. So imagine having three people on the team, one actually being Xavier Rhodes and two more that are just like him. That's pretty awesome for a secondary.
And Terrence Newman ain't afraid to get in a scrap either, that's for sure.
Yeah, Mr. Father Time over there, the fountain of youth, still playing at a high level.
Don't know how he does it.
Hey, that's all right. Give us another good season, Terrence. And shout out to Andy Carlson, by the way. You talked to him, another Vikings podcaster out there. What's up, Andy? Thanks for talking to Adam. And
he always does a great job. I enjoy communicating with him, even if it's about stupid topics like what's the worst earworm song that you've had stuck in your head lately or something like that. He's a fun follow on social media. I recommend it.
Definitely. So the next quick hit we've got for the show, give me a second, guys. You guys can save me for a second while I open these documents back up. To decide to jump out at me.
This one's about quarterbacks, and I don't know how relevant or how much Mr. Smith is going to like talking about this one, but I think that we're going to have some interesting discussion on it.
So the Vikings were listed as a potential destination for Kirk Cousins in 2018 because why? Because if there's a 0.01 chance that it could happen, cool. Tom Brady could come play quarterback for us too when he's 45 and decides to not play for the Patriots, so we could talk about that as well. Listen, if you haven't followed the Kirk Cousins news, I understand why Washington is doing what they're doing, because if you look at a team like the Saints, if you tie up all your money in a quarterback, you can't spend it everywhere else to make your team equally as good. That's why the Patriots are so good. Tom Brady always takes a pay cut. So essentially, in a nutshell, they've been franchise tagging him every year, which the price tag goes up. They won't give him a long-term deal. They won't give him that comfort of knowing, hey, you're our guy. So they just keep having to pay him these mega one-year deals at the franchise tag. So with the rocky waters in relationship, because they won't commit to Kirk Cousins, and because our two quarterbacks are technically could be on the rocks next year, depending on both of their situations, the Vikings were listed as a potential landing place for Kirk Cousins. I'm going to tell you right now, I will put the rest of my salary this year. Kirk Cousins is not going to be in a Vikings uniform. He's going to go to San Francisco, and we are going to keep Teddy Bridgewater on the roster because I don't think he's going to play this year.
I think he's going to play for the Jets next year.
You think he's going to the Jets? Hey, he won't have to move far. So there you go, Kirk. You can go right up the road. He's not going to be in a Vikings uniform. I think we're either going to stick with Sam Bradford long-term, or we're going to let Sam go, see what we can get for him, and put faith back into Teddy, because I would take a $20 million Sam Bradford any day versus a $28 or $30 million Kirk Cousins, because I don't know. I don't see a lot of difference between the two.
If the Vikings are going to throw money down, it's going to be on Sam Bradford if he has a good season.
Absolutely.
If Bradford doesn't have a good season, you're right. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the option.
And a lot of people will argue stats with me here, and I'll have to pump the brakes on that a little bit. A lot of those stats, and I have learned this over time. I tell you guys all the time, I learn more and more each week about football because I dive into it more. A lot of those are garbage numbers because they play from behind, and he has to chuck the ball everywhere. He's got great numbers the last 2 years, but they went 9-7, and I think 9-7. There's not a lot to show for it in the win column. So, he's not a bad quarterback. I'm not knocking Kirk Cousins. He's in mid-range, but he's going to cost a lot of money because of what Washington has done.
No, you could feel pretty comfortable with Cousins as your starting quarterback. You shouldn't feel great, but you should feel all right. And I don't blame Washington for kind of wanting to feel him out.
Exactly.
Because I'd hesitate, too, on a long-term deal. And I think the nail in the coffin with the relationship between him and the Redskins was the meeting, the press conference where, what was it, the GM of the team called him Kurt?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins. When you have the GM, was he said the GM or was it the owner?
I think it might have been the owner.
I don't remember which one. It was either their general manager or the owner of the team, and they couldn't even say his name right. And that's laughable to me because if you're going to – and the conversation that was had – I know we're taking a little bit longer on this, but it's so funny is how Washington tried to spin it as, well, we threw all this money at him. You don't even know his first name? Like, don't try to save face if you can't even say the guy's name right.
And he wasn't even their first choice. You know, he was the second choice after RG3.
Oh, it's just so bad. I know God, when they drafted RG3 and him, Mike Shanahan was the coach. His son Kyle's in San Francisco. They don't have a quarterback. Number 2 overall pick this year. They don't really have a quarterback now. So that's my guess. Adam thinks he's going to New York. But I can tell you right now, he can leave the Redskins, which we think is probably going to happen unless they just lock him down. He won't be in a Vikings uniform.
You got to guess, Mr. West?
Yeah, where's he going to go?
I think the Jets. I think that makes a lot of sense. I also don't understand why he would be linked to kind of loop it back to that, just because we already have 2 starting caliber quarterbacks. Why in the world do we need a third? Like, that don't even make any sense to me.
I don't know. To me, right now it is Sam Bradford or Teddy Bridgewater, not both, not neither. It's going to be one or the other next year.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I don't know, to have Teddy Bridgewater on the roster and say, okay, we're going to commit to Teddy, which the team already has. They've already made the decision in the past. We're going to go forward with Teddy Bridgewater. And then, of course, the injury happened. Sam Bradford came in. It's going to be Bradford or Bridgewater. So I don't even understand why our experts keep linking quarterbacks. Like I saw an article too. I believe we talked about it not last week, but the week before, about how the Vikings need to draft a quarterback in the first round next year. Really?
Idiotic, man.
I don't know. And then you got Fansided, and I love Fansided. I do. You know, they've been great to me, but they put out an article projecting the win-loss record for all the teams, and they've got the Vikings at a mark that I just don't see happening.
Hey, we can talk about that now. I mean, we don't really have too much in-depth stuff to go. Is this the 6-10 article that you shared with us?
It is. If the Vikings are a 6-win season, a 6-win team in 2017, well healthy, this is going to be real bad, real bad.
Yeah, we're
because
talk about
things
a lot.
it's really a positive time for the Vikings right now. You got a head coach who's trying to rally the team. You've got 2 quarterbacks that really want to make a great impression and be a part of this team for a long time. You've got young defensive players that are taking massive strides, young, talented wide receivers, running backs being brought in. I don't understand how this team isn't getting more credit than they deserve. I've seen other sports sites giving the Vikings 8-win, 9-win season. And, 9 wins is an above-average team, and if they go a little bit above that, they could be considered a playoff caliber team. But I really do feel like experts are not giving the Vikings the full benefit of the doubt this year.
I know that Kyle is thinking about the same thing I am, and he's saying, that's fine. Project us to go 2-14. That's cool. I don't like it when we have positive stuff. People are like, oh, they're going to go 12-4. Like, well, something bad's inevitably going to happen. So I'll take the 6-10 projection. What the people don't realize is we upgraded at the positions that we needed help with. We Adrian Peterson, canned him. We picked up a great running back. We signed one from Oakland. We drafted one. And we're shifting to the new age NFL. The defense didn't lose anyone. So I don't understand that either, why 6-10 is bad.
Chad, but
I love you, Chad. Chad knew it was going to be his last year, and I'm not saying that Chad still couldn't have played, but it wasn't Chad Greenway of 2011 or 2012.
No,
but I don't understand it. I know we're in a division with the NFC champs, runner-ups, and then we have another playoff team in Detroit. But I feel like that could be interchanged with the Vikings at any moment.
We got Tommy in the chat here with us, and he is talking about how he's going to walk onto the Jets or Browns roster and be their starting quarterback. I think he's talking about how he loves Teddy again because he loves his Teddy.
I think the low win projection is because this team collapsed after the bye week, and I don't think that a lot of experts have faith that the Vikings can win like long term because of what happened last season.
No, I really do believe that a lot of experts have not really dove into what happened with the Vikings and why that collapse happened after the 5-0 start.
They're just looking at the collapse.
Right, they're saying, oh, well, the Lions won a bunch of games at the end of the season. They're an upward team. The Vikings lost games at the end of the season. They must be a downward trending team. And that's not always true. But yet somehow the Colts always get a nice high projection when they finish seasons awfully.
I don't get that either. Must be their quarterback, but whatever. Speaking of quarterbacks, I just want to throw that out and try to transition really well. Kyle, you're wearing his jersey. Tell us about Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy is practicing without a knee brace. Really good doing it.
He is a handsome man.
Mm-hmm. That too.
Bridgewater is a looker, and the hard work is showing. I don't think he looks smaller than he did before, but he does look in shape. He does look lean. You can tell he's been keeping up in the gym and doing his rehab really well. So it's very, very positive and uplifting to see this image. There's actually been a couple of images now floating around. If you have Instagram, I suggest you follow him. I think it's Teddy B H2O, and it was doing some stuff in the rain. A lot of people were mad about that on social media, like, oh, you fell in a non-contact drill. Why are you running around without a brace in the rain? And I'm thinking, just be happy that he's running around without a brace. It's okay, guys. So
right.
We put a picture up on the page from last week if you scroll down the page a little bit. But Teddy looks to be ahead of schedule. I don't think he's going to play, obviously not week one. I think Sam's the guy. But I think if at some point in the season we needed him, he could possibly be ready. We've talked about this before. Some experts predict by Halloween. But just a good positive note. He looks good.
Hey, Teddy's been putting some quotes out, too, about how he wants to be ready for this season.
Why not? No offense to Casey.
Interesting.
I'm sure he's a capable backup. I'm not knocking his backup skills, but I'll take Teddy over him because he was on a team that led us to the playoffs a season before the last. So, hey, I'm ready for it, man. I would love to see him and Bradford battle it out when they're both healthy and see who can come out on top.
For sure.
I have an interesting take on this next one because I don't want it to happen because I think Dalvin Cook has serious breakaway potential, and I think he could be the rookie of the year. Dalvin Cook, kickoff returner for the Vikings, ? How about Rodney Adams? You win that spot. No offense, and this is going to sound awful, but I don't care. If Rodney Adams gets injured, we still have a big wide receiver core. I want Dalvin Cook to be the running back number one for this team. I don't want him to get injured, even though he's very shifty. But we need a new kick returner, guys. So is it going to be Dalvin Cook? That is the million-dollar question.
Mike Prefer was on Sirius XM radio, and he was talking about the kick return position. And he spoke about how if he had his way, he would have Dalvin Cook returning kicks. But he's brought it up to head coach Mike Zimmer, and Zimmer is not very responsive to the idea. So it sounds like Prefer is fighting an uphill battle on this one, so it will likely not be Cook returning kicks, but that doesn't mean that the special teams coach is going to stop fighting for it to happen.
There's always, hey, Tommy Gunn, if you're still in the chat, I'm about to give your boy a shout-out. If he can't do it on if he won't do it, if Dalvin Cook is not allowed, we can always ask Marcus Sherrills to do it. I don't care if he was the punt and the kick returner. I'm sorry you need someone expendable to do it, but in my opinion, I don't want Dalvin Cook doing it because I don't want to see him get injured. That's just me.
I agree. I think he's too valuable of an offensive weapon. Considering how dangerous returns can be, the impact that you take running, got two people, full pads, just sprinting at each other from opposite directions, hitting each other. It's a scary situation. And to take a guy that like Dalvin Cook, who the Vikings are putting a lot of faith in, to help rejuvenate the running back position and make it more dynamic, and to use him on kick returns, it's kind of a scary situation.
Yeah, that would be gut-wrenching. We don't need any more injuries. I think the injury bug has bitten us quite a few times over the last couple of seasons. So let's get a couple of healthy seasons where nobody, especially no one important, no starters go down. But if you take a look at it too, I don't think it's out of the question. Cordero was an excellent returner, but he wasn't our number 1 or 2 wide receivers. So
Tommy did hear you say Sherrills, and he perked right up, but he also mentioned that Randy Moss returned kicks for 2 games during his rookie year.
Not bad. That's a good stat.
Interesting.
Myriad did a couple times his rookie year, didn't he?
If he did, I don't remember it very well. I drank a lot during that time.
I think 1 or 2 times. I'm pretty sure Peterson got to return a kick.
It's probably I would go with yes on that. I couldn't confirm it, but I do believe so. I believe they let him try it out a little bit. I want to tie this next quick hit in. I want to tie it in with something else that I sent to the guys in the group chat. If you guys haven't heard, it's on the ESPN app. You can find it if you add the Vikings under your favorite. Let's talk about our head coach, Mike Zimmer, for a minute. Mike Zimmer wants the Vikings to be a little more reckless defensively. And I read the article about this. Adam, didn't you write that?
Yeah, it was part of an interview over on the Star Tribune. No, the Pioneer Press. The Pioneer Press had a great interview with Mike Zimmer where they talked about so many things: his eye, the collapse of the team, his ranch, all his charity, a whole bunch of cool stuff. And it was really interesting for me to read this because Zimmer is known pretty much throughout the league as a disciplined player that always wants his players where they're supposed to be, doing their assignments. Your teammates know exactly what's expected of them. And for him to say that this season he wants the players to have a little bit more free range of what they are going to do and to take a couple more chances, roll the dice, it's really interesting to hear that from Zimmer. And I believe the reason for that is because he wants to keep opposing offenses just on their toes a little bit more. And Zimmer also knows that he has a very athletic defense here. If you've got guys that can close in on ball carriers so fast, Eric Kendricks is an absolute ball hawk. There's no doubt that Anthony Barr has tons of speed. And Danielle Hunter is an absolute freak in nature. Everson Griffin is just physical as all heck. And, of course, in the secondary, you've got real studs, too. And these players can come together and create something real good. But being able to let these guys go out and do a little bit more of their own freestyling, freelancing, might be able to result in a lot more negative plays or takeaways. So I'm interested to see if this is just smoke and mirrors from Mike Zimmer to try to get opposing offenses to not, to test his defenses a bit more because they won't be gambling as much, or if this is something that he's actually going to be doing.
Yeah, those 2 things you brought up were points that I had in my head too. It's kind of weird to hear him say that because he wants everyone to be tight-knit. When you said it, you know where the other guy's at. I thought of 300. He wants to make him one unit, like I see that. But who knows? Maybe if he lets the guys freelance a little bit, like you said, maybe it shows how much trust he has in them. I know he trusts the guys, but it's hard for me to put a lot of stock into that based on how he coaches and the way he always wants you to do things by the book. But it'd be interesting to see. I'm trying to tie this next bullet in. I'm sorry, I want to add this to this bullet too because we're on the thing of Mike Zimmer. I put this in the chat with the guys. And if you have the ESPN app, if you add the Vikings to your favorite NFL stuff, this video should come up because it's fairly recent. I watched it yesterday. I don't know who sat him down for this interview, but there he was in his collar shirt and his khakis, I think it was. And one of the quotes was, they were asking him about his eye surgery and why he was still coaching, why he didn't take time off or more time off than he had to. And he said, it was more important to me to take care of this team and not my vision in my right eye. And that's just a small quote from it. If you hear the things that he said and how driven he was, he said that he owes these players everything because they are everything to him. And it just floored me how much he loves this team. Because, there are guys out there that'll tell you, yeah, I love this team, or this is my family. And then you wonder if it lacks some substance or if you could just tell, hey, I guess that's what he has to say. But I truly and firmly believe that Mike Zimmer meant all of that. And it was really cool to hear him say that. It's like, man, you might be going blind. And he did speak a little bit about how in his right eye he could sort of see shapes and colors. So he's nowhere near where he should be with his right eye and his vision. But he said, that's not going to stop me from being on the field. So we got a badass head coach, ladies and gentlemen. Hot take.
Yeah, he is definitely one of a kind. Zimmer showed how tough he is by trying to go to absolutely every game he could before going to have that surgery done. And it's not like it was something that he could have put off any further. If he'd have waited much longer, there could have been some serious damage done. But Zimmer has always been that kind of guy who just puts the team first, you know? He wants to win so bad, and he wants to bring that winning spirit to Minnesota. He wants that the Super Bowl is his goal. Anything less is a failure, and he said that when he first came here, and I still firmly believe that's the case. But he knows it's going to take a step at a time to try to get this team where they need to go. And I believe in that same interview he talked about how the Vikings collapsed, and he was putting so much pressure on himself to try to fix it. And how he let the team down. And it's sad to hear a coach feel that way, but it's also great to see that kind of passion.
Yeah, you can tell how committed and dedicated he is. And I love the fact that he said, Super Bowl or bust. I think that's obviously every team's goal every year, but he truly means it. And head coaching is not an easy job. I know we rip on a lot of guys, and we're just quick to play armchair quarterback for any position in Major League sports in general, but head coaching is a show up at 4:30, leave at 9:30 at night job, and he loves it and he eats it up. I know that his wife passed away not too long ago, so I know that I don't think he's married anyone else. I don't think he's dating anybody, so he has a lot of time to put the football. But that was his life. I mean, he won a ring with the Cowboys. So.
I thought he said once that football is his girlfriend now, or something like that.
Oh, absolutely, and you can see it.
Can you imagine Mike Zimmer on like eHarmony?
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, his bio would say, "I like football."
Yeah,
I'd like to see him on one of those old dating shows, like a Limit Date, or like a Flavor Flav for the Love of Money or whatever.
Can we please get Mike Zimmer? How about this? We know he has like a farm style ranch or something like that. Can we make Mike Zimmer's FarmersOnly.com? Can we make a profile there? If you guys see him in Mankato and you talk to him, tell him that we said that. We want to make him a FarmersOnly.com profile, and we will run it for him.
I would laugh or punch you in the face.
Yeah, I'm not sure which. That might not be good.
I don't recommend.
Like Mike, I love you as a coach, and I want you here for the next 20 years. I want to find you a girlfriend. Can I run a social media? Can we put Mike Zimmer on Tinder?
Oh no, Zimmer's no Tinder kind of guy.
That would be the part where he would be like
security. At the bottom of the key. I don't care about the labor. Show me the baby. Don't tell me about. Okay, I gotta shut up, man. The idea of social media is fantastic. I'm sure he thinks it's the devil, just like any media interview that he does after the game and tries to get out of 10 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple more quick hits. Let's bang these out. Everson Griffin and Anthony Barr are working with Movement Miyagi. Sean Miska. Got a pretty cool spelled last name. I have no idea about this bullet. I know that I follow Mr. Anthony Barr on Snapchat and Instagram, and just like Eric Kendricks and Stephon Diggs, these are 3 workout warriors. They are in the gym probably as long as I'm at work every single day. They're just out there sweating. That's pretty much what their Snapchats are. It's them sweating. So this is pretty cool.
Griffin and Barr are taking on the initiative to work with the Movement Miyagi to really just smooth out all of their movements, work on their foot placement, their hand placement, their weight shifting, small things like that can make the difference between a split second of beating a defender or sacking a quarterback or just getting beat. And for guys, Everson Griffin and Anthony Barr are both athletic, fast, strong guys. And they should have absolutely no problem beating many defenders. And in today's NFL, a lot of players can get by just based on their physical abilities. But Griffin and Barr want to take that next step. They want to make sure they have no wasted motion when getting to the quarterback or running after a defender with a ball. And I believe it's 20 players across the league that are doing this. And he's worked with several other players before, like Adrian Peterson and John Carlson and other former Vikings as well. So, and I guess that this is something fairly new to the NFL. but it is something that has been used worldwide, especially throughout soccer, to try to keep players a little bit more fresh by having them, use less energy when needed, and also to make their movements when they do make them more efficient. So this is something that I found really interesting as soon as I saw the article, and it's almost like when you see someone like a football player or a boxer or someone taking ballet lessons or doing yoga, It's one of those situations where, it might not directly relate to the game, but it's going to do a world of good because it's going to increase your ability, it's going to give you a better technique, and it's going to just put you in a better situation to make plays.
When I hear about this, I think about Tom Brady and this crazy diet he's on. He doesn't drink beer. He's like the real brother and stepbrother. He's like, I haven't had a carb since 2004. Like, they're taking care of their bodies and they're doing these off-the-wall things, but it could end up saving them in the long run. I think with this, you would have better range of motion. Maybe it could help out with injuries. Maybe you're less likely to get injured because you're way more flexible. I don't know, but I think it's cool that they will take every avenue that they can to get better, which is what they're doing. I think it's pretty awesome. It shows their dedication.
It's really crazy when you think about some of the players who use this downtime to do, to go on vacations, spend time with their family. Then you got these other players that are like, no, I'm gonna go work out with this guy who's gonna teach me how to plant my foot better. It's like, wow.
There's a good balance between them. Like I said, the guy I see working out the most is Stephon Diggs, but he's also got that balance of he likes Starbucks. I picked that up, and he did he said a world tour according to the last couple of weeks in there. It has that vacation time. But even when they're on vacation, they're in the gym. They have guys filming them doing movements and stuff. So it's kind of like a year-round thing, just keeping in shape like that, which is pretty sweet. But
Tom again in the chat says that he saw a study that showed multi-sport athletes get injured less often, which could very well be true because you're using different muscle groups, keeping your body guessing a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, unless you're Kyle Rudolph, I guess.
Didn't he have a basketball scholarship too? He was really good. So let's get on to the last. It's kind of a 2-for-1, but right now the Vikings have 89 players on their roster. They are allowed up to 90 for training camp by Wednesday. So some more will be expected to sign soon. But we have an addition. We do have one that was waived. Defensive end Caleb Kidder was waived, but they have signed defensive tackle Chunky Clements.
Good old Chunky Clements.
Can we get him on the show? Can we buy his jersey? I know.
Chunky Clements is kind of a small defensive tackle. He's a rookie, so it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be a little bit of an uphill climb for him. But the Vikings, of course, want to throw as many bodies at that defensive tackle spot and see what sticks. But with all the recent additions, I believe they brought over someone from the Bears. They used one of their top draft picks on someone. And, of course, they've got Linval over there and Tom Johnson. It's kind of a crowded area. But when you got young people trying out for positions or maybe even a practice squad spot, you never know.
It's pretty crazy. Chunky, if you're not big and chunky, you are fake news, and I can't take it. When you told me that you're not that big, you broke my heart. I expected a big, burly guy.
No, he relies a bit more on his athleticism. When I was watching some video of him, I kind of expected him to transition to maybe defensive end, but he doesn't really have the top speed for that, or even really the agility. But
that's a defensive tackle.
That's not saying that he can't excel at defensive tackle, bulk up a little bit, and with the help of Zimmer and some of the defensive coaches, just really succeed. He's just really got to work for it, and it's awesome to see him getting an opportunity. I love seeing some of these under-the-radar guys getting a chance in the NFL, and hopefully he will make the most of that.
But can he do the truffle shuffle?
I don't know.
We need to find out.
Truffle Shuffle, Vikings edition. Who would you like to see do the Truffle Shuffle?
It's Linval, right? I mean, that's the answer, right?
I think that would be a consensus, yeah.
Energy behind it? Come on.
I know
think
that
should be
over on the Vikings website, they shared some photos of Linval doing some fishing with, I think it was some guy from Game of Thrones. I don't know.
Was it the Mountain?
I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, the Mountain. That's a big guy. I wonder why they call him that.
I only know him as some guy from Game of Thrones.
I'm going to be honest with you. You guys can hate me. I've never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones.
I watched an episode and a half, and that's good. I'm good.
We got the Walking Dead guy over here. He's not going to give you any love for Game of Thrones, guys.
Hey, everybody can like whatever they like, man. I'm not here to pee on anyone's parade.
Nope, everybody send hate mail to Adam right now because you like Game of Thrones. Do it right now.
Because the Game of Thrones isn't for me.
Because it's 2017 and the internet says I hate you.
Oh.
All right, the main topic for this week. We were talking about our head coach earlier, Mike Zimmer. The doctors have cleared him to travel by air to attend training camp, so Mike Zimmer will be at training camp. If this news is accurate, which it is, because you heard it first here on the Purple People Podcast.
Well, probably not first, but you are hearing it.
Some people are hearing this for the first time.
Maybe.
I heard it first because I just read it. I did not know this, so I'm really happy about that. But he appears on track for a full recovery after multiple eye surgeries. He said this in a couple of interviews and a couple of post-camp pressers. I had to slow that one down for like mini camp and stuff like that. He was saying that, all right, I'm not getting any surgeries for a while. He doesn't. I know it's not really up to him if he has to get one, but they're saying that he's got enough time where he can try to see where it goes from here. I'm sure he would probably just show up with an eye patch and be like, I've got a fully good one eye. Let's do this. But
isn't it absolutely obvious that Mike Zimmer hates talking to the media and the press about himself?
Mm-hmm. I love it. He hates talking to him in general, but he definitely hates talking about his eye surgery. He's like, what? I had eye surgery. I had 1 million of them. I had to miss football.
Big whoop. Want to fight about it?
Touche. Family Guy reference for the win.
But it is good to see that Mike Zimmer's eye problems seem to be settling down a bit. As with what happened last year, he never anticipated that he would have to have the emergency surgery during the season. And this is a problem that can go into the other eye as well. So he's not out of the woods by any mean, but there is a chance that he could be done and that this will be it. So fingers crossed for him. And I hope that it doesn't have any kind of more impact on his ability to see or his ability to coach in the future.
Just listening around to a couple of the guys, you guys know if you listen to the show, I love ESPN and Dan Le Batard, and they're talking to some NFL former head coaches not too long ago. They're talking about the stress, and I hope this isn't stress related. I'll be selfish in a second, but more importantly for the remaining members of his family, his children, any brothers and sisters that he has or relatives, just for his health alone, you hope that this is put behind him and this is the last we have to hear about it. He makes a full and speedy recovery. But selfishly, the thing that bothered me the most about all this is I didn't want to lose him as a head coach for this team because I think everything that we want as a human being and as a person, he brings to the table. He's a no-nonsense guy. And like we've said before, especially when he got hired, this guy should have been a head coach 4 years ago before he got hired. He should have been head coaching now for about 6 to 7, 8 years. But just the nature of his brash and bluntness, some people rub the wrong way. But I'm glad he landed with us, and I hope he's with us for another 10 to 15 years. And selfishly, I was thinking about myself and the team, but our team, I'm happy that he's doing all right. And you know what's been crazy about it the whole time? He's just been such a good sport about it. You can tell it annoys him. He hates talking to the press like we've mentioned a few times, but he's just been such a good sport and keeps us updated when he has to, but he just keeps on going. He's a real soldier, man.
Absolutely. Not much not to love about that guy.
Kyle, are you still with us?
I think he put up a picture of himself down in the corner, like right in front of his camera, and then just went and did something else.
Yeah, I have a barking dog in the background. I'm sure you can relate to that one, Mr. Smith.
Oh, my neighbors above me had one. I didn't know they had a dog until yesterday, and it was storming. He let me know that he did not like it.
Oh.
No, you know what Kyle was doing? It's like Talladega Nights. He's like, I got to make a phone call. I'm going to get a chicken sandwich. You guys should have one. I'll be back in like 10. We're just making sure you're here, man. I know your internet was crazy because of the weather, but I want to get your take on something real quick. I want to get all of our take on this social media question that happened. We talked about it before. I think there's a pretty good idea what we're going to do, but I also have a bold statement for later. I was wondering if you had a Kyle's 5. But the question last week pertained to Mr. Michael Floyd. If you guys didn't hear from last week's episode, Michael Floyd has been suspended for the first 4 games for his incident with kombucha tea. I believe that's how is it called kombucha or kombucha?
I have no idea. I'd seen it written before this, but I've never heard it said, and I've never tasted it because,
I've
sober
never
for 5
heard
years.
of it. But I'm going to bring a case of it to Mankato and
Oh,
just gift it.
get his
to Michael
autograph
Floyd.
on it.
Can you sign this for me?
Kyle, that is really how you get punched in the face.
It is.
Khalil making snarky comments. You're gonna get punched in the face by Michael Floyd.
You're gonna get your hat flipped.
And you know what? Sometimes you just got to take one for the team, man. It'll be worth it. Bring those up there and make that happen.
That's the last year for it in Mankato. If I get kicked out, I want to get kicked out for that. That'd be awesome.
But we asked you guys. I know it's not a fun topic to talk about negative stuff. We try not to keep it away, but it is relevant. What do you guys think about a suspension? We had four responses, so we'll go through all of them. Eddie Self says, I feared worse. If no more issues arise, then the Vikings get a steal. I see Eddie's point on this a lot. If Michael Floyd can return just to be our number 3 or number 4 wide receiver and be a pretty good shell of the number 1 pick that he was. I know he had some good times in Arizona as far as good stats for being a receiver. Cool. He had one really good year there. Nothing too impressive in the other years, maybe even last year with the Patriots. I know he won a Super Bowl, but this is just kind of becoming an issue. So we all talked about this last week. We thought this was going to come down of some sort. The Vikings didn't take it in their own hands. They let the NFL take care of it. So let's keep going with these, though. I'm getting a little sidetracked. Craig Morley said 4 games is probably fair, but one more transgression and he's gone. Absolutely agree with you. I don't think Mike Zimmer's going to put up with that. I'm pretty sure he already threatened to cut him if he was flying. So I don't think he's got any. I think he's on strike number 2 right now. So
he didn't say he'd release him from the team. He said he'd cut him.
Cut him. Right. He's going to shank him. Just
I'm
right in the side.
I'm going to stab you. That's what Mike said.
Every player has to be a little scared that Zimmer's going to stab him.
Yeah,
you should be.
I wish we could get him back to form when he was the Cincy D coordinator, where he was just blessing out everybody for missing all their assignments. But he had to be a little bit better now since he's got the
he does. I've seen him up in Mankato. He does that on the sidelines. Still.
He stabs people.
He stabs people. No,
nice.
No, he still gets really worked up. I don't think the Vikings just try to focus on that as much.
Hey. Do what you got to do, I guess. That's pretty.
You never see the videos of that on Vikings.com.
No, yeah, I know. But no, trust me, he does.
Wired for sound. He's usually minding his P's and Q's, being nice.
There'd be a lot of beeps on the Wired for Sound.
Yes. John Johns, to finish out these 2, said, this is expected. We all kind of figured it was going to be something like that. And our resident faithful here on the podcast, Tommy Gunn, has a poem of sorts, and it rhymes, and it's pretty good. You can't make the club drinking the kombucha tub. You might be sunk if you keep getting drunk. Your career might not last if your drug tests aren't passed. Zimmer might have one eye, but he sees through your lie. 4 games this time.
And there goes Mr. Smith.
What are the chances of that happening, Adam?
Weird, right?
Yeah.
Right before the poem ended.
Yeah, on the podcast.
What a wacky situation. But as a whole, this situation, we had talked about it before, about how 4 games was the likely response that the league would make on this situation if the Vikings didn't take any kind of preemptive action. The Vikings failed to make the preemptive action. League handed down 4 games as expected. I have not yet seen any kind of appeal by Floyd. He may just take the 4.
He should just take it.
But if he appeals, he might get a game taken off there, but I don't know. I'm still kind of disappointed the team didn't try to step in and do something.
Yeah, you wonder what that says about your relationship with him. Yeah. I don't know.
I guess I feel that we don't need... Sorry, we keep cutting each other off. I guess I feel that we really don't need him So let him serve the 4-game suspension, and whatever happens, happens. If he comes back and he does great, that's fine. If not, okay, that's fine too. Like, I'm not too worried about it.
Isaac Fructi's got this.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dark horse of the NFL this year, Isaac Fructi, coming in hot.
He'll be the next guy Gruden's like, who is this kid?
That would be awesome. I would be okay with that.
That's Isaac Fructi, I'm telling you. Can't wait to that. We're almost to that crazy way of that John Gruden talk. We're almost to football, guys. I'm so excited that we finally have something. We'll have something next week. I'm hoping we can wait until at least Wednesday or Thursday until training camp is at least.
We are almost to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Almost.
Yes.
I was excited until you said that. You reminded me. I'm like, I want to watch football now. Just thanks, Adam.
Hey, I'm actually up in Minnesota territory now where I get the local broadcasts.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting.
That is exciting.
I'm pretty darn excited about that.
You could just turn on K-Fan. You could just mute the broadcast on TV.
Oh, poor Joe Buck.
So, I have a bold statement, you guys, and I don't know that it's the boldest of bold statements, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. You know how a couple of weeks ago we talked about Latavius Murray, and he's a great addition to the team. I think he might be the touchdown stealer of the team this year, depending on how good the line is improved. But he was on Good Morning Football on NFL Network, and he said, hey, look, I'm already behind as far as getting the reps, getting in with the team, getting the chemistry going. But week 1, I'm getting that first handoff. First play, I want it to go to me. I'm here to chop that in half with my predictions axe. Dalvin Cook's going to be our starting running back come week 1.
Ooh.
I keep hearing nothing but just amazing things from the coaches. I watched every single video that Vikings.com has to offer yesterday and the day before. And they asked the running back coach, Mr. Palomalu, and they said, hey, Kennedy, how is he? And he says, have you seen the highlights on the kid? He comes as advertised. I think he's more versatile. I think we can leave the middle of up the middle running and then the touchdown, the goal line kind of stuff to Mr. Latavius Murray. But as far as overall skill, I don't think this is one of those instances where Mike Zimmer says, I need you to hold off a little bit. I think he's going to get a lot of touches, and I think he's going to do some crazy stuff. And I think that little separation of Latavius coming off of an injury versus Dalvin Cook just coming in guns hot, just full speed, I think that's going to be a difference.
I don't really think this is another situation where it matters who the starter is. It's going to be a split. It's going to be divided up amongst who the hot hand is or who's having a good game at first or whether they're trying to ease a player in or whatever the situation is. People put too much pressure on, oh, this guy's a starter in the league. Yeah, but does he get the reps? That's the big question, especially at running back where everything is pretty much a committee these days.
Yep, you see that less and less as the NFL goes on. I do think the running back position, in my opinion, has been undervalued the last couple of seasons. Now it's starting to make a good comeback because, like you said, they do the tandems, they do the duos. There's a couple of systems where you just have that absolute guy. He's just going to get the most touches. Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Zeke Elliott. But,
right.
You know, you can still go to the Super Bowl with a running back committee. Look at the two teams in there. They had a lot of good running backs. Not one absolute great, but they had a lot of good ones that they could interchange throughout the game or depending on the opponent. But I think that's what's going to happen. I could be dead wrong, but that's why I don't get paid to do this. But that would be pretty cool. And
nothing wrong with predictions.
I'm really, really excited. And you know what predictions mean? We're getting closer to the season, so we're going to do a win-loss projection here within the next month. So you guys,
it's true.
It's going to be here in the next 30 to 40 days. So that's all I got. Do you guys have any more football talk, or are we going to wrap this up? Because I have something I want to talk about at the end.
Well, we've got Tommy Gunn talking about how since Aaron Rodgers broke up with his girl, Joe Buck has been waiting to make his move.
Joe Buck, I promise you can take this to the bank. I'll murder you if you go after Olivia Munn.
No, he's not after Olivia Munn. I think that joke went over you.
It did. It did go over me. And I say that now because I had Instagram open and she is on there. And that is my.
It's Joe Buck hitting on Aaron Rodgers. That's the joke.
Oh, touche. You know what? I got a question for you guys. That's a good joke. I mean, Tommy, that did go straight over my head. Who do you not like more, Chris Collinsworth or Joe Buck?
Buck.
Oh, Joe Buck.
Because every time I get a consensus, especially when it's a Sunday night game, it always sounds like Chris Collinsworth has had too many screwdrivers before the show started. He's like half drunk when he's there. A lot of my
the thing is, though, is that Collinsworth might be annoying, but he actually knows his stuff.
He's very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And he can explain the game to you guys that don't know it as well, like me, on his level. He can explain it to you in such a way that it's actually interesting, even though it does sound like he's kind of hammered when he gets up and shows to work.
I want to take a second because I want to plug my work over on Undead Walking. Of course, today was Comic-Con, which is why I've been kind of half-brained today, so I apologize for that. But I've been hitting that Comic-Con trail hard. Walking Dead trailer came out. We had the big panel, Fear the Walking Dead panel, Fear the Walking Dead trailer. It's been just an absolute crazy time over there. I did social media reactions to the trailer as well. There's a ton of new stuff over on Undead Walking. If you're into The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, I recommend you check it out if you get a chance. And of course, you know, by now you all know that I work on the Viking Age. I have content up there as often as possible, not so much lately. But I'm going to be doing what I can in the future, and especially now that I'm hoping to attend as many training camp sessions as possible to get up some stuff on my observations and maybe even some of the cool things I notice. Maybe even an article on Jake's Stadium Pizza if it's as good as Mr. West says it is.
You should definitely write about it. It's the last year for it.
It's pretty amazing, man. I'm so jealous you guys get to go there. I'm super jealous. I wish I could make a trip. It's going to happen eventually, just not anytime in the near future.
I don't think you got anything else you want to close with, Mr. West?
I'm good for the week.
All right. The floor is yours, Mr. Smith.
If you guys didn't know, just a little, it's related to football, kind of, sort of, in a very, very loose way. O.J. Simpson is going to get paroled. That was pretty crazy to talk about. If you haven't seen the Dave Chappelle Netflix stand-up where he talks about meeting O.J. Simpson multiple times, it's hilarious.
It is.
Very, very dirty. But
I just watched it. It really is good.
It's dirty, but it's really, really good. If you guys didn't hear it, if you didn't see the breaking news, the armed robbery charge, he's been in jail for 9 years, since 2008. He'll be getting out October 1st of this year for good behavior. I don't think there's a luckier man in sports than that guy, and not in a good way. We all know what happened before, but that's not what I want to talk about. It was kind of football-related news, but I want to talk about what happened with Chester Bennington because it's really crazy, the stuff that's happening. I wasn't the die-hard Lincoln Park fan, if you guys didn't know. Yesterday, Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park committed suicide, and it's a really, really sad, sad day. It hits me on a personal level because I have people that I know that are going through it. They're very close to me right now who are depressed and have attempted it themselves. And it's just really sad. I just want to say, in a positive note, just in a roundabout way for everyone, first of all, if you're a music person like me, of any kind, you want to say, I wish the best for his family. I know it's a hard time, but if you have any signs or know your friends are going through something rough, don't be afraid to be that guy who jumps out and says, "Are you okay?" and ask some tough questions. Ask them directly, but reach out to your people. Even for these two guys, I haven't officially got to meet them in person yet, but we check up all the time, and if I see the signs that are off, I wouldn't be afraid to talk to them one-on-one, or any of you guys that need somebody to talk to. If you run out of people, shoot us a message to the Purple People Podcast. We will absolutely talk to you. Take care of your friends. Try to know the signs because it's a really, really sad week, and this is a recurring theme here recently between musicians especially. So it's really sad, but I'm trying to end it on a positive note and let everybody know that everything is going to be okay if you reach out and talk to someone, and that's all I got. I want to end it on a good, happy vibe. Just know that you are wanted somewhere.
Hey, I understand that Vikings fans, too, sometimes feel like there's not a lot of hope. It's been a lot of disappointment for the fans over the seasons, but there's always going to be a tomorrow, and there's always going to be a chance to make things better. And if you can take that chance, work hard, you can do it. You can make everything a lot better. It might not be perfect, but it'll be better. one step at a time. Because I've been to some pretty dark places, and if not for taking baby steps and making it through a lot of challenges in my life, there's no way that I'd be where I am today.
That's right. You got to have a good support group. There's always somebody out there that's willing to take that time out and talk to you. So
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid. That's all I got. I guess I'll wrap it up. I want to tell everybody thank you for joining the show. The guys that joined the YouTube as we did this live, the guys that are going to watch it later. We'll try to find a social media question and throw up for next week. If you don't mind, check us out on Twitter at Purple People Pod, the Facebook page, facebook.com/Purple People Podcast. And most importantly for all that stuff, if you check out any of our social media sites, we're pushing the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Purple People Podcast. It's right here below in my tag. Hit the subscribe button. We're just trying to keep our family growing. We're up to 1,400 plus on Facebook, and we're growing up to, I believe, 400 on YouTube. So there are a lot of you guys out there. Tell all your friends about it. Give us a share if you would. But most importantly, we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, and stay classy, Minnesota.